Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force ship, Teguk. His hands were steady as he watched the massive alien ship through the main screen. The alien vessel was 10 times bigger than his own ship. It looked like a giant metal mountain floating in space near Jupiter. "Sir, they are sending us a message," said Lieutenant Yuna from her station. "Put it on screen," Minho ordered. The screen flickered. A strange creature appeared. It had 4 arms and skin that looked like blue crystal. Its eyes were large and black. When it spoke, the translation computer changed its words into human language. "I am Ambassador Cathara of the Valdoran Empire. You will come aboard our ship. Now!" Minho felt his crew tense up around him. The alien's voice was cold and commanding. But Minho had been in the Earth Defense Force for 20 years. He had faced pirates and space storms. He would not be scared by an alien, no matter how big their ship was. "This is Captain Minho of the Earth Defense Force. We welcome peaceful contact with your people. We will send a small team to meet with you." The alien's face did not change. "You have 1 hour." The screen went black. Dr. Sunho, the ship's scientist, moved closer to Minho. "Captain, we know nothing about these aliens. This could be very dangerous." "Everything is dangerous out here, Doctor," Minho replied, "but we need to know what they want." 2 hours later, Minho found himself in a strange room inside the alien ship. The walls glowed with soft blue light. The air smelled like metal and something sweet he could not name. Dr. Sunho and 2 Marines stood behind him. Ambassador Cathara sat across from them at a table that seemed to be made from one piece of black stone. 2 other aliens stood behind her. They looked different from Cathara. One was tall and thin with 6 arms. The other was short and covered in what looked like scales. "Humans," Cathara began. "Your species is new to space. You have only just learned to travel between stars. We have watched you for some time." "Watched us?" Dr. Sunho asked. Cathara's 4 arms moved in what might have been a shrug. "We watch all new species. It is our duty. The Valdoran Empire has kept peace in this galaxy for 3,000 years. We decide which species may join the galactic community." Minho felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "And what have you decided about humans? You may not leave your solar system. Ever." The words hit Minho like a physical blow. He had expected many things from first contact with aliens. Trade agreements, cultural exchange, maybe even conflict. But he had never expected this. "That is impossible," he said slowly. "Humans have colonies on 3 worlds outside our solar system already." "Those colonies will be removed," Cathara said. Her voice was calm, like she was talking about the weather. "The colonists will return to Earth or die." Dr. Sunho stepped forward. "You cannot be serious. We have done nothing wrong. We have harmed no one." The tall alien behind Cathara spoke for the first time. "Humans are too violent, too unpredictable. In your short history, you have fought thousands of wars. You have destroyed your own environment. You create weapons that could kill entire planets." "Every species goes through growing pains," Minho said. "We have learned from our mistakes. We have peace on Earth now. We work together." "For now," Cathara said. "But what happens when you face real pressure? When resources become scarce? When you meet other species who compete with you? You will return to your violent ways. We have seen it before." Minho felt anger rising in his chest. "So you have decided to make us prisoners in our own solar system? Based on what might happen?" "Based on what will happen," Cathara corrected. "The Valdoran Empire consists of 12 species. All of them learned to be peaceful before they were allowed to travel among the stars. Humans have not learned this lesson." "And if we refuse?" Minho asked. Cathara made a gesture with one of her hands. The room's wall became transparent. Through it, Minho could see space. He could see his ship, the Teguk. As he watched, a beam of green light shot from somewhere on the alien ship. The beam hit the Teguk. Minho's ship simply stopped. All its lights went out. It began to drift, slowly through space like a dead thing. "Your ship is not destroyed," Cathera said, "but it cannot move. It cannot fight. It cannot even send messages. This is what our technology can do to yours. Your most powerful weapons cannot even scratch our hull." Dr. Sunho was staring at the dead ship. "How many people were on board?" 237, Minho said quietly. "They are alive," Cathara assured him, "but they cannot help you now. This is a small demonstration. If humans try to leave their solar system after today, we will not be so gentle." Minho looked at the alien ambassador. He thought about his crew floating helplessly in space. He thought about the human colonies on distant worlds. He thought about Earth and all the people who dreamed of traveling to the stars. "You want us to sign a treaty," he said. "Yes, a simple agreement. Humans will stay in their solar system. In exchange, we will not interfere with your affairs. You may live as you wish, as long as you stay where you belong." Minho was quiet for a long moment. Around him, he could feel the alien ship humming with power. He could feel the weight of their advanced technology pressing down on him. These aliens could destroy humanity if they wanted to. He knew that now. But he also knew something else. He knew humans. "I cannot sign that treaty," he said finally. Cathara's crystal-like face showed something that might have been surprise. "You would choose destruction over submission?" "I would choose freedom over fear," Minho replied. "Humans do not respond well to threats. We never have. You can keep us trapped here today, but you will not keep us trapped forever." "You are making a mistake, Captain Minho of Earth." "Maybe," Minho said, "but it is our mistake to make." Cathara stood up. Her forearms moved in complex patterns. "You have 7 days to reconsider. After that, any human ship that leaves your solar system will be destroyed. Any human colony outside your system will be burned from orbit. And then you will see," Minho said quietly, "exactly how violent humans can be when someone threatens their freedom." The meeting was over. Fleet Admiral Jiwon looked around the room at the most important people on Earth. The emergency meeting had been called just hours after Captain Minho returned from his encounter with the aliens. The news was spreading across Earth and all human colonies. Fear was in the air, but so was something else: anger. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," said President Kyung from the main screen. She was speaking from the lunar base. "These aliens want us to abandon our colonies and stay locked in our solar system forever?" "That is correct, madam." "President," Admiral Jiwon replied, "they have given us 7 days to comply." General Hayuna slammed her hand on the table. "This is insane. We have done nothing to them. We have attacked no one. We have taken nothing that belonged to others." "It does not matter to them," said Dr. Sunho, who had returned with Captain Minho. "They believe we are too dangerous to be allowed among the stars. They have made up their minds." Director Nara, the head of Human Intelligence Services, spoke quietly from her chair. "What about their technology? How advanced are they compared to us?" Captain Minho answered. "Very advanced. They disabled the Teguk with a single shot. Our weapons probably cannot even damage their ships." "Probably," said Engineer Taewon from his seat near the back. He was young for such an important meeting, but he was the best military engineer humanity had. "But we will not know for sure until we try." Admiral Jiwon nodded. "That brings us to why we are here. The President has asked me to develop a response plan. I need to know what options we have." General Hyuna spoke first. "From a military standpoint, we are at a severe disadvantage. But we are not helpless. We have advantages they may not expect." "Such as?" President Kyung asked. "Humans fight differently than other species might," Hyuna explained. We do not just have armies. We have guerrillas, rebels, resistance fighters. We know how to fight when we are outnumbered. We know how to win when we should lose, engineer. Taewon raised his hand. We also have their technology now. The beam that hit the Teguk left traces. We can study it. We can learn from it. Maybe we can even copy it. How long would that take? Admiral Ji-won asked. Months. Maybe years. But we might be able to make basic improvements to our weapons and shields in weeks. Director Nara leaned forward. What about intelligence? We need to know more about these Valdorans. How many ships do they have? Where are their bases? Do they have enemies we could work with? I have already started on that, Nara said. We have merchant ships and exploration vessels that were outside the solar system when the aliens arrived. I am ordering them to avoid detection and gather information. Captain Minho spoke up. The alien ambassador mentioned that their empire has 12 different species. That suggests they might not all think the same way. There could be divisions we could exploit. Good point, Admiral Ji-won said. But we need to be realistic about our situation. We are facing an empire that has existed for 3,000 years. They have technology we cannot match. They have ships we cannot destroy. So what do you suggest? General Hyuna asked. Admiral Ji-won stood up and walked to the large display screen on the wall. It showed a map of human space. Earth and Mars were at the center. Lines stretched out to the colonies on Proxima Centauri, Wolf 359, and Tau Ceti. We prepare for war, she said simply, but not the kind of war they expect. The room was quiet for a moment. We cannot fight their ships directly, Admiral Ji-won continued. But we can make them pay a price for every system they try to control. We can make it expensive for them to keep us trapped. Engineer Taewon nodded enthusiastically. We start building weapons and defenses in the asteroid belts. We hide factories in empty space. We make it impossible for them to find and destroy everything we have. And we do not fight fair, General Hyuna added with a grim smile. We use tactics they do not expect. We fight like humans. President Kyung's voice came from the screen. Are we talking about starting a war with a galactic empire? The risks are enormous. The risks of doing nothing are also enormous, Captain, Minho said. They are asking us to give up our future, to accept that humans will never explore the galaxy, never meet other species as equals, never reach our full potential. Director Nara spoke quietly. There is something else to consider. Our merchants and explorers who are still outside the solar system report that other species are watching this situation carefully. If we resist successfully, it might inspire others to resist as well. Admiral Ji-won nodded. That is a good point. This empire has kept control for 3,000 years by making everyone afraid. If we show that they can be fought, that they can be hurt, it might change everything. So what is the plan? President Kyung asked. Admiral Ji-won turned back to the group. We have 7 days before their deadline. We use that time to begin preparations. Engineer Taewon starts analyzing their technology and improving our weapons. General Hyuna begins training our forces for asymmetric warfare. Director Nara expands our intelligence gathering. What about the colonies? General Hyuna asked. We have 30,000 people on 3 worlds outside the solar system. We give them a choice, Admiral Ji-won said. They can return to Earth, or they can stay and fight. But we will not abandon them. If the aliens want to remove our colonies, they will have to fight for every meter of ground. Captain Minho stood up. What about their deadline? What do we tell them in 7 days? Admiral Ji-won smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. We tell them exactly what Captain Minho told them. Humans do not respond well to threats. President Kyung was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was firm. I need a formal recommendation from the military council. Admiral Ji-won looked around the room. She saw determination on every face. Fear, too, but determination was stronger. Madam, President, the military council recommends that we reject the alien ultimatum. We recommend immediate preparation for defensive operations. We recommend that we show these aliens that humans will not be caged. The colonies? President Kyung asked. We defend them. The risks? We accept them. The cost? Whatever it takes. President. Kyung was quiet again. Then she nodded. Very well. You have authorization to begin preparations. But remember, everyone, once we start down this path, there may be no going back. Are we all prepared for that? Around the room, heads nodded. They were scared. They were facing the unknown. But they were human, and humans had never accepted chains willingly. Then let us begin, President Kyung said, and may fortune favor the brave. As the meeting ended, Admiral Ji-won looked out the window at Earth below. Somewhere out there, alien ships were waiting. An empire that had ruled the galaxy for millennia was preparing to crush humanity before it could become a threat. They had no idea what they were dealing with. Humans did not break easily, and when they were pushed into a corner, they became the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. The aliens wanted a war? They were about to get one. Colonel Sora crouched behind the twisted metal of what used to be a mining machine. Around her, the Proxima Centauri colony was burning. Alien ships hung in the sky like metal vultures, their weapons turning buildings into dust and flame. Colonel, they are demanding surrender again, said Private Mina through the radio. She was hiding in the basement of the medical center with 50 other colonists. Tell them the same thing we told them yesterday, Sora replied. We are not leaving. It had been 3 weeks since the Valderan fleet arrived at Proxima. 3 weeks since they ordered all humans to evacuate the planet immediately. 3 weeks since the colonists refused to go. The aliens had not expected resistance. They thought a show of force would be enough to make the humans run. They were wrong. Sora looked at her weapon. It was a mining laser that Engineer Taewon's people had modified into a rifle. It could punch through alien armor, but only at close range. The aliens had better weapons, better ships, better everything. But they had made one mistake. They had never fought humans before. Movement to the east, whispered Corporal Junho from his position in the ruins of the school. 3 of the tall ones with the energy weapons. Sora smiled grimly. The tall aliens were Valderans, the species that led the Empire. They wore armor that could stop most human weapons, but armor had weak points. Humans were very good at finding weak points. Wait for them to get closer, she said into her radio. Remember, aim for the joints. The 3 Valderans moved carefully through the rubble. They had learned to be cautious. In the first week of fighting, they had lost many soldiers to human traps and ambushes. The humans did not fight like other species. They did not line up in formations or follow the rules of civilized warfare. They fought like wild animals protecting their young. The lead Valderan stepped on what looked like a piece of broken concrete. The explosive underneath blew him 10 meters through the air. The other 2 aliens raised their weapons, looking for targets. They found them. Sora and her fighters opened fire from 6 different positions. The modified mining lasers were not as powerful as alien weapons, but they did not need to be. The humans aimed for the spots where armor plates joined together. They aimed for weapon barrels and sensor arrays. In 30 seconds, both aliens were down. Collect their weapons, Sora ordered, and be quick about it. They will send more soon. Young Bora came running from her hiding place in the underground tunnels. She was only 17, but she had become one of the colony's best scouts. Her small size let her move through spaces adults could not reach. Colonel, I have news from the orbital platform, she said breathlessly. Captain Woo-sung's ship is still out there. The aliens have not found it yet. Sora nodded. The Soul's Pride was a small stealth ship that had been delivering supplies when the aliens arrived. Captain Woo-sung had hidden his ship in the asteroid field around Proxima. For 3 weeks, he had been running secret missions, bringing ammunition and medical supplies to the defenders. Any word from Earth? Sora asked. Bora's face fell. No, Colonel. The aliens are jamming all long-range communications, but Captain Wusung thinks Earth knows what is happening here. How can he be sure? Because we are not dead yet. Sora understood. If Earth had given up on the colonies, the aliens would have simply bombed the planet from orbit. The fact that they were trying to take the colony intact meant they still cared about what the rest of humanity thought. That evening, Sora met with the other resistance leaders in the deep tunnels under the main settlement. The tunnels had been dug for mining operations, but now they served as the rebels' headquarters. "We cannot hold out much longer," said Dr. Yeon, the colony's chief medical officer. "We have 43 wounded, and our medical supplies are almost gone. The food situation is also critical," added Manager Ho-sung, who had been in charge of the colony's civilian population. "We have maybe a week left." Sora looked around the tunnel at the tired faces of her people. They had been fighting for 3 weeks against impossible odds. They had lost friends, family members, homes. But they had not given up. "What about ammunition?" she asked. "Captain Wusung brought us enough for maybe 2 more days of heavy fighting," reported Sergeant Taik. "And the aliens? They are getting frustrated," said Lieutenant Day. "My scouts report that their commander is under pressure from his superiors. They expected this to be finished weeks ago." Sora was quiet for a moment. Then she looked up at her people. "I want everyone to understand something. We are probably going to die here." The tunnel was silent. "But we are not dying for nothing," she continued. "Every day we hold out is another day for Earth to prepare. Every alien soldier we kill is one fewer to attack our home world. Every hour we delay them is time for other colonies to build defenses." "More than that," said Bora quietly. "We are showing the galaxy that humans do not break." Sora smiled at the young woman. "Exactly. Win or lose, we are writing a message that every species in the galaxy will read. The message is simple. Humans fight back." 2 days later, the message became even clearer. Captain Wusung brought his ship out of the asteroid field for the last time. The Soul's pride was damaged from weeks of dodging alien patrols, but she could still fly. More importantly, she could still fight. Wusung had spent days preparing for this moment. His ship carried a special cargo, all the remaining antimatter, fuel from the colony's power plant. Engineer Taewon's people had taught them how to turn antimatter fuel into a bomb, a very big bomb. The alien fleet commander, Veltaran, watched the small human ship approach on his main screen. He was tired of this planet and its stubborn defenders. 3 weeks of fighting against primitives had made him look foolish in front of his superiors. "Destroy it!" he ordered. His weapons officer fired. Green energy beams reached out toward the human ship. But Captain Wusung was not trying to escape this time. He was flying straight at the alien flagship. The beams hit the Soul's pride, the Soul. Ship's shields failed immediately. Its armor began to melt. But it kept flying. "What is he doing?" Veltaran demanded. "Sir, I am detecting a massive energy buildup in the human ship," reported his science officer. "It appears to be some kind of explosive device." Veltaran's eyes widened. "Evasive maneuvers! Full power to shields!" Too late. The Soul's pride struck the flagship's hull and exploded. The antimatter detonation was visible from the planet's surface as a second sun that blazed for 10 seconds before fading away. When the light cleared, the alien flagship was gone. 7 other ships in the fleet were damaged or destroyed by the explosion. The remaining alien vessels retreated to a safe distance, their crews staring in shock at the expanding cloud of debris where their commander had been. On the planet below, Colonel Sora stood in the ruins of the colony and watched the alien ships pull back. Around her, her fighters were cheering. They had won. Against all odds, they had actually won. "What now, Colonel?" asked Bora. Sora looked up at the alien ships hanging in the distance. They would be back, with more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. But that did not matter now. "Now we rebuild," she said. and we wait for them to come back, because they will learn that taking one human colony costs more than they want to pay, and maybe, just maybe, other species will learn that the Valdoran Empire is not as strong as it pretends to be. The Battle of Proxima was over, but the war for human freedom was just beginning. In the wreckage of the alien flagship, Emergency, systems recorded Commander Veltaran's final transmission to the Valdoran High Command. The humans are not like other species. They do not surrender. They do not retreat. They fight until they die, and they take as many of us with them as they can. This is not a war. This is madness. Across the galaxy, other species heard that message, and for the first time in 3,000 years they began to wonder if the mighty Valdoran Empire could be beaten after all. Ambassador Unji stood on the bridge of the diplomatic ship Harmony and stared at the most beautiful sight she had ever seen. The ocean world of Nautilus Prime stretched out below them, its blue-green seas dotted with floating cities that looked like giant flowers made of coral and metal. "Are you sure about this?" asked Captain Dongyun from behind her. He commanded the small fleet of human ships that had escorted Yunji to this secret meeting. "If this is a trap, we are very far from home." "It is not a trap," Yunji replied, though she was not completely certain. "Princess Zira risked everything to contact us. Her people are ready to rebel against the Valdorans." 2 months had passed since the Battle of Proxima. Word of the human victory had spread across the galaxy, despite Valdoran attempts to suppress it. For the first time in 3,000 years, a member species of the Empire had successfully resisted. Other species were taking notice. The first to reach out had been Princess Zira of the Nautari. Her people were aquatic, breathing water instead of air. They had been conquered by the Valdorans 500 years ago and forced to provide the Empire with rare metals from their ocean floors. "Incoming transmission," reported Lieutenant Quan from the communication station. The main screen flickered to life. Princess Zira appeared, her gills fluttering with nervousness. She was beautiful in an alien way, with silver skin and large eyes that reflected light like mirrors. She wore what looked like armor made from shells and spoke through a translator device. "Ambassador Yunji of Earth, welcome to Nautilus Prime. I hope your journey was safe." "Thank you, Princess. We are honored by your invitation." "Please, call me Zira. We have much to discuss, and little time. The Valdoran garrison commander does not know you are here, but he will soon. My people have been planning this rebellion for decades. Your victory at Proxima has given us hope that we can succeed." Yunji felt excitement building in her chest. Earth's intelligence services had suspected that some species in the Empire were unhappy with Valdoran rule, but this was the first concrete proof. "What do you need from us?" she asked. "Weapons, technology, most importantly, allies. The Nautari cannot defeat the Valdorans alone, but with human help, we might have a chance." "And in return?" Zira smiled, showing teeth like pearls. "We offer you something the Valdorans fear most, proof that their empire is not eternal. Every successful rebellion makes the next one more likely." Over the next few hours, Yunji met with leaders of the Nautari resistance. They had detailed plans for simultaneous uprisings on 12 ocean worlds. They had weapons hidden in underwater caves and allies throughout their space fleet. All they needed was a spark to begin the fire. "There are others," Zira told Yunji, as they toured one of the floating cities. "The Corvin have been mining slaves for 800 years. The Luminids are forced to power Valdoran ships with their energy bodies. Even some Valdorans are unhappy with their leaders' policies." "How many species are ready to rebel?" Yunji asked. 3 for certain. Maybe 5 or 6 more if we show them it can be done." That evening, Yunji met with Captain Dongyun in her quarters, aboard the Harmony. Through the window, they could see Nautari swimmers playing in the warm seas below. "What do you think?" she asked. Dongyun was studying intelligence reports from Earth. "Admiral Jiwon will want guarantees. We cannot risk our fleet for a rebellion that might fail." But if it succeeds, we suddenly have allies across the galaxy. The Valdorans would have to fight wars on multiple fronts. And if it fails, we lose our ships and our new friends get exterminated. Yunji nodded. It was a difficult decision, but she had been chosen for this mission because she understood both diplomacy and risk. I think we have to try, she said finally. This might be our only chance to level the playing field. The next morning brought unexpected news. A Corvin mining ship had arrived at Nautilus Prime during the night. The Corvin were silicon-based life forms that looked like living rocks. They were incredibly strong and could survive in environments that would kill most other species. Their leader, a massive being called Thok, met with Yunji and Zira in the deepest part of the ocean city. "Humans," Thok said in a voice like grinding stone, "we have heard of your fight at Proxima. The Corvin Mining Guild is interested in your rebellion." "What can your people offer?" Yunji asked. "Ships, industrial capacity, and something else." Thok's rock-like face showed what might have been a smile. "We know where the Valdorans keep their main weapons factories. We have been forced to mine the materials for those weapons for centuries. We know their weaknesses." Zira leaned forward excitedly. "If we could destroy their weapons production, the entire empire would be vulnerable," Thok finished. "But it would require perfect coordination. All three of our species would need to strike at the same time." Yunji felt a chill of excitement and fear. They were talking about the largest military operation in galactic history. If it worked, it could shatter the Valdoran Empire. If it failed, it could mean the end of human expansion forever. "There is one more thing," Thok continued. "The Luminids have also been contacted. They are energy beings who power most Valdoran. Technology. If they joined us..." "The Valdoran fleet would be paralyzed," Zira breathed. That afternoon, Yunji found herself in the strangest meeting of her diplomatic career. Essence of Stars, the Luminid representative, appeared as a glowing ball of light that communicated through patterns of color and brightness. The translation was imperfect, but the meaning was clear. The Luminids had been enslaved by the Valdorans for over 1,000 years. They were forced to power everything from starships to weapon systems. They had been waiting centuries for a chance to rebel. "But we need assurance," the light patterns conveyed. "If this rebellion fails, the Valdorans will destroy us completely. We cannot reproduce quickly like organic species." Yunji looked around the room at her new allies. An aquatic princess who dreamed of free oceans. A rock-like mining guild leader who wanted to keep the fruits of his people's labor. A being of pure energy who longed to choose her own purpose. And herself, representing a species that refused to be caged. "I cannot promise you victory," she said honestly. "But I can promise you that humans will fight alongside you until the end. We will not abandon our allies." Zira nodded. "The Nautari fleet will be ready in 2 weeks. The Corvin mining ships can be converted to warships in the same time." Thok added, "And the Luminids will coordinate power failures across the Valdoran fleet." Essence of Stars agreed. Yunji took a deep breath. "Then I will return to Earth immediately. Admiral Jiwan needs time to prepare our forces." As the Harmony prepared to leave Nautilus Prime, Yunji stood once more on the bridge watching the ocean world fall away below them. In 2 weeks, the galaxy would change forever. Either the Valdoran Empire would crush this rebellion and remain supreme, or the age of galactic freedom would begin. "Set course for Earth," she ordered Captain Donghyun. "And send a priority message to Admiral Jiwan. Tell her the Free Worlds Alliance is ready to fight." Behind them, Princess Zira and her allies began their final preparations. Across the galaxy, other species watched and waited. The Valdorans had ruled through fear for 3,000 years. But fear, Yunji had learned, was a weapon that could cut both ways. Soon, the Empire would learn what it meant to be afraid. The rebellion was about to begin, and at its heart were the humans who had shown the galaxy that even the mightiest empire could bleed. The species that refused to surrender had become the spark that would light a fire across the stars, and nothing would ever be the same again. Fleet Admiral G1 stood in the command center of the massive human battleship New Dawn and watched history unfold on the tactical display. Around the Valdoran homeworld of Supremus Prime, the largest space battle in galactic history was raging. Ships from 8 different species fought together as the Free Worlds Alliance. Human vessels with their aggressive designs flew alongside the graceful Nautari bioships. Corvin industrial haulers converted into flying fortresses exchanged fire with elegant Valdoran cruisers. Luminid energy beings powered allied ships while deliberately failing to energize Valdoran weapons. Admiral, the Valdoran defense fleet is falling back to the planet, reported Captain Minho from his position at the tactical station. The veteran officer had been promoted after his brave stand during first contact 2 years ago. They are trying to force us into a siege, G1 observed. They think we will not risk damaging their home world. Will we? Asked General Huna, through the communication link from her troop transport. She was leading the joint ground forces that would assault the planet if the space battle went well. G1 considered the question. Supremus Prime was home to over 2 billion Valdorans. Many of them were civilians who had never chosen war. But it was also the command center of an empire that had oppressed dozens of species for thousands of years. We will do what we must, she said finally. But we fight for liberation, not destruction. We are not conquerors. The battle had been raging for 6 hours. The Free Worlds Alliance had started with nearly 4,000 ships. The Valdorans had fewer vessels, but theirs were more advanced. Superior technology against superior numbers and motivation. Admiral, Princess Zira is requesting permission to begin the next phase, reported the communications officer. G1 nodded. Tell her to proceed. On the display, she watched as Nautari ships broke away from the main battle and dove toward the planet's oceans. Supremus Prime was mostly water, like the Nautari homeworld. The aquatic aliens could fight underwater where Valdoran ships could not follow. At the same time, Corvin mining ships approached the planet's rocky moons. Their crews would tunnel into the moons and establish missile bases that could bombard Valdoran positions from unexpected angles. Clever, muttered Admiral Dong-Yun from his ship nearby. The Valdorans never expected their enemies to use the environment against them. That is because they have never fought a real war, G1 replied. They have only conquered helpless species. They do not understand how to fight equals. The tide of battle began to turn as the Alliance used tactics the Valdorans had never seen. Human ships used ramming attacks and suicide runs. Nautari vessels disappeared into ocean trenches and emerged behind enemy lines. Corvin ships simply absorbed damage and kept fighting until their rocky hulls finally cracked. But the real surprise came when the Luminids made their move. Across the Valdoran fleet, energy beings that had been forced to power enemy ships for centuries suddenly stopped cooperating. Valdoran vessels lost power. Their weapons went silent. Their shields collapsed. It is working, breathed Captain Minho. They are defenseless. But G1 was not celebrating yet. The space battle was only half the war. Even if they defeated the Valdoran fleet, taking the planet itself would be much harder. General Huna, are your forces ready for planetary assault? Ready and waiting, Admiral. Though I have to say I never thought I would be leading aliens into battle. G1 smiled. The joint ground forces were as unusual as the space fleet. Human Marines fought alongside Corvin heavy assault troops and Nautari underwater specialists. Other Alliance species provided support and specialized equipment. Begin the landing, G1 ordered. The invasion of Supremus Prime began at dawn local time. Alliance dropships descended through the planet's atmosphere while Valdoran defenders fired everything they had at the incoming forces. Many ships were destroyed, but many more made it through. General Huna found herself leading a mixed battalion of humans and Corvin through the crystal cities of the Valdoran capital. The fighting was intense but brief. Valdoran ground forces, were not prepared for enemies who fought with such determination. "These buildings are incredible," said Major Doyun as they secured another city block. The Valdoran structures were grown rather than built, rising like translucent trees from the ground. "Pretty," agreed a Corvan soldier named Granite Crusher, "but not very strong," he demonstrated by punching a hole through a crystal wall with his rocky fist. The real breakthrough came when they reached the planetary command center. To everyone's surprise, they found Ambassador Cathara waiting for them. The four-armed alien who had delivered the original ultimatum to humanity now stood, alone in the center of the command room. "I surrender," she said simply. General Hyuna approached cautiously, her weapon ready. "This could be a trap." "It is not," Cathara replied. "I have been monitoring your communications. You fight for freedom, not conquest. You have shown mercy to prisoners and civilians. Perhaps we were wrong about humans." "You were wrong about many things," Hyuna said, but she lowered her weapon. "Yes. We were so afraid of new species becoming threats that we became the threat ourselves. We forgot that diversity makes civilization stronger, not weaker." The surrender of Supremus Prime marked the end of organized Valdoran resistance. Across the galaxy, other worlds laid down their arms as news of the capital's fall spread. The empire that had lasted 3,000 years crumbled in 3 days. But Ji-Wan knew that winning the war was easier than winning the peace. Now came the hard part, building something better from the ruins. 3 months later, she stood in the same command center where Cathara had surrendered. But now it looked very different. Representatives from dozens of species worked together, planning the future of the galaxy. "The Galactic Federation is officially established," announced President Minseo, who had traveled from Earth for the ceremony. "All species, including former Valdorans, will have equal representation in the new government." Ji-Wan watched as delegates from across the galaxy signed the founding document. Humans worked alongside their former enemies, building something that had never existed before, a truly free galactic civilization. "Admiral," said a familiar voice behind her. She turned to see Admiral Minho, now commanding the Federation peacekeeping fleet. "The outer territories are reporting complete compliance with the ceasefire. It appears we have actual peace." "For now," Ji-Wan replied. "Peace is something you have to fight for every day." "Any regrets?" Minho asked. Ji-Wan looked out at the stars through the command center's great window. Somewhere out there, human explorers were making contact with species that had never been part of the old empire. Other vessels carried diplomats and teachers and doctors to worlds that had never known freedom. "None," she said. "We came in force, just like we promised, but we brought something better than weapons. We brought the idea that all intelligent species deserve freedom." 5 years later, Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of the Federation flagship New Earth as it patrolled the galaxy's outer rim. The ship was a marvel of cooperative engineering, built by teams from dozens of species, working together. "Captain, we are receiving a distress call from an unknown species," reported Lieutenant Seri. "They say they are being oppressed by something called the hegemony." Minho smiled. It seemed there were always new tyrants to face, new species to liberate. But the galaxy was no longer alone against such threats. "Set course for their location," he ordered, "and send word to the Federation Council. It looks like we have new friends to make." As the new Earth jumped to hyperspace, Minho reflected on how much had changed. Humanity had been told to stay away from the stars. Instead, they had come in force and brought freedom with them. The Valdorans had been wrong about many things, but they had been most wrong about this. Diversity was not dangerous. It was the greatest strength any civilization could have. And now, the galaxy would never be the same. The age of galactic tyranny was over. The age of galactic freedom had begun, and at its heart were the humans who had refused to be caged, who had shown that sometimes the most dangerous thing you could do was fight for what was right. The stars belonged to everyone now, just as they always should have.